Good evening. I would like to call to order the Tuesday, June 2nd meeting of the Monmouth City Council and ask our city recorder, Pam Dornbush, for the roll call, please.
Councillor Belts.
Here.
Councillor Carey.
Here.
Councillor Lopez.
Present.
Councillor McKeel.
Here.
Councillor Oberst.
Here.
Councillor Ridgway.
Here.
Mayor Kuntz.
I am present. And Councillor Oberst, would you lead us in the flag?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our first item of business, our consent calendar, includes the minutes of the May 19th City Council meeting. Are there any additions or corrections or a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve the consent calendar.
Thank you, Councillor McKeel, for the motion and Councillor Carey for the second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? Okay, thank you. At this time, we will entertain public comment for items not on the agenda. And I have 3 of those submitted. There's an additional one for an item later on the agenda. And reminder that we do have a 3-minute timer that Pam will be running up here. So we ask that you come to the table, state your name, where you reside, and speak as closely into the mic as you can so folks can hear. And first this evening, I'll call up Joan Bostrom.
Is that working? Joan Bostrom, 14920 Ferns Corner Road, Monmouth, Oregon. 4 fast friends met for lunch. One, a founding former partner of Urban Robotics. Another had sold his successful Oregon startup to Google. One caught in recent Nike cutbacks. The last pal, also in high tech. Their topic of conversation, constant mugging by Oregon income taxes. All 4 had watched demographic trends changing lifestyles. Podcasts now class their Oregon a bad deal. In 3 years, property taxes up in 34 of 36 counties. Whisper of plots to cancel protective 3% property tax caps. Since 2022, a dozen major insurance carriers exited or reduced coverage. Crest raised rates. A sudden quiet in apartment rental demand. Salem, a brand new vacancy hotspot. Agriculture under assault. UGB aggression, one example. Without that historic base, the state economy loses an anchor. Portland's commercial downtown, 35% vacant. Ripple effect down the Willamette Valley, inevitable. State rental and home buying programs at risk. Grants winding down as major employers flee the state. Feds reduce Oregon funding by billions. And economists warn the consumer is broke. Oregon Association of Realtors project multiple communities will cross the 15% residential vacancy by 2027, the red line denoting distressed Oregon housing. A biggie, remote workers Oregonians to tax-friendly states. The lunch companions nod. Idealistic city and state leaders will not pay attention to warning thunders of demographic shift. Time to leave. All agree. A fifth group member is no longer there as he decamped to New Zealand, taking his affluent company there. One instantly purchased a Reno home. Another planned relocation to Formosa. One pondered where to go. Boise, Phoenix. Oh, the fourth at lunch, he can now officially commute. Company confirms he can live anywhere except California or New York. But he says, my family doesn't want to leave you, Mom. So Oregon loses bright, creative workers while city fathers ring the dinner bell. A lure to those coming.
Well, as
for
you wrap
freedoms.
up, your time is up. Thank you. And Lacey Harris. You wanna there you
Good
go.
evening, all. My name is Lacey Harris. I live at 334 Stadium Drive. I am next door to the shelter. I just wanted to talk about the good things that have happened. They've got a ton of tomatoes going. They've got flowers going. They're out doing their lawns. Last week, they came and weed whacked the side of my yard, asked if they could do it. Another point I want to bring up, we have one stand-up freezer. I live with my mother in one unit, my daughter in one unit, myself and my husband in another. We have a freezer that we share. More than once, my grandson has gone to the freezer and has been called out by the shelter. Excuse me, do you belong there? Should you be here? So they're watching out. I personally, I have been there a year. We purchased our home last year with the knowledge of the shelter. Since then, there has really been no issue. There has been nothing. I'm amazed at how wonderfully simple and smooth it's gone. I know a lot of the folks' names. They know mine. You know, it's been a wonderful thing. I know there can be some issues with it, but in my story, in my mother's story, my daughter, my husband, it's been okay. I don't want to take up your whole 3 minutes. I just wanted to let you know that there's some people who think good things, and I don't think we could live much closer than next door. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Lacey. And Tobin.
I'm the husband next door with Lacey there. We live at 334 Stadium, and literally nobody on the planet lives closer to that shelter than I do. Shelters aren't new to me. I've worked in a number of them, in a number of cities. And the things I read online and the things I've read in the meeting minutes here, people's fears about the shelter, I just laughed. It's the same story. It's the same in Boston. It's the same in San Francisco. Anchorage, Alaska, I worked at the shelter. Shelters know they're not welcome. And they're pretty strict about how things go. Did you know that somebody walks around that property every hour on the hour? I mean, you can sit on my back porch. I live so close that I'm on my back porch without raising my voice. I'm like, hey, Bob. I know all the employees. I know half the residents. So when I read online that there's big piles of trash, I walk outside and I look for it and I don't see any piles of trash. When I hear that there's people sleeping on the street, I go outside and I look and the street is literally empty. There's not one car on the whole street. I'm like, wow, what a mess. And then this week I see code compliance out there. And I'm wondering what code compliance is doing there. I've never, ever seen code compliance on any other street in this town, checking the license plates of every car on the street. I've never seen that before. So I start to wonder what's going on here, and I get worried. And I'm not like raging mad or I'm going to change City Hall or anything. And I don't hold you guys responsible. You're volunteers. Thanks for showing up. Out of the whole 10,000 people in this town, this is it. You guys show up week after week. I don't blame you at all. But just keep in mind, the guy who lives closer than anybody on the planet is laughing about all this. Come on down to my house and hang out and then tell me what a big problem we have. And I hate to say it, but I mentioned I've worked in a lot of shelters in a lot of cities, and I've seen the same thing over and over and over, and it's NIMBY. It's not my backyard. Don't affect my property values. This is my retirement. I worked hard my whole life. I get it. I get it. But I don't see the property values going down. I think the university will make sure that real estate costs in the area are stable. All right, I gotta go meet with a customer. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, that brings us to our business agenda, and our first item is information about a new mural in town. Our staff report from Communications Coordinator Saber Jewell.
Right. All right. Good evening, council and mayor, staff. We appreciate this opportunity. I am joined tonight by McKenna Brinkman. McKenna is a WU student, former WU student athlete, and artist extraordinaire. As many of you know, the rebranding process is something that we've been taking years to do. You can see the change in our public vehicles. You can see the change in our banners. And now we are looking to change the biggest billboard that we have in town. As many of you know, the Gentle Woods bathroom, the back of that, has the old logo on it. And that is what people see as they are driving in north to southbound and also as they're exiting the town. I was excited to look for an artist to do this project and even more excited to find that artist in a WU student. You are all familiar with Mickey's work. You've seen it everywhere. She is responsible for that adorable bug on the side of the city hall, that west side. She has also done the artwork in Cafe Eula. So if you've dined in there, that beautiful mural that's inspired a lot by her home of Sisters, Oregon, and anything you see at the Sippery, from the chalk to the paint, that is because Mickey has been responsible for it. So her talent is something that you can obviously see for yourself. In your council package, you can see the artist rendering that Mickey has provided for you. Mickey and I did several stages. We met with our Parks and Rec Board and our Arts Commission to ensure that they got a look at the first draft. Mickey took that feedback and then created the rendition that you see before you. This project is something that we've planned for over 2 budget cycles. We paid the deposit for Mickey to the last. The remaining is what we're asking council to both approve for the art and the motion for us to go ahead and get to work on this. The urgency is a little nigh, which is why we are here tonight on such a busy agenda, because we would love to see Mickey begin this project in early July once the Oregon rains stop. So that's kind of what we're, stop sort of, right? So we are asking tonight for a motion of that, but we are obviously opening the floor to questions from council.
Councilor Lopez.
Madam Mayor, I do have a question, but I'd like to frame the conversation by placing the motion, if I may. I move to approve the artwork by local artist McKenna Brinkman for the Gentle Woods Park outdoor mural with a budget of $6,375.
Second.
Thank you, Councilor Lopez, for the motion, and Councilor Belts for the second. And then you want to speak to your motion.
Beautiful this mural is, it's wonderful to hear the background of your art already gracing our fair city. And I do agree that this is part of our face to the world, right? As people drive up and down 99 and see the sign there, the mural rather, in the park as they go by. That was actually how I learned that I wanted to make this place home. It was driving by that park and also seeing the little sign for the ice cream shop here downtown. Both of those things together prompted a little detour, and then ended up moving here a matter of months later. So I have great affection for the role that the old mural plays, and this is a huge improvement over what exists currently. My question. How are the flowers selected for this? Are they native flowers? Are they local? Like what went into that? I'd love to learn that piece of lore.
Yeah, so they are all native flowers. I actually, when doing my research and trying to figure out, because I knew I wanted to incorporate local nature, I found that there were multiple studies done on these specific flowers at Western Oregon University, which I thought, hey, how cool, fellow students from my school. Not only that, but I think in which the way that I chose them, I was able to arrange them in a sense that makes them pop. And a lot of the majority of the audience is going to be seeing this from the road. You know, they're going to be driving by just like you did. But I think when designing this specifically, I wanted it to be something that you could appreciate from afar and up close. And the flowers also represent something bigger in that, which is our community and the diversity. And just as it says on the design, where good things grow, great things grow. So do the flowers and the nature here, which is something I really appreciate. Coming from the high desert, we don't got anything there. So
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Counselor Oberst.
And what flowers are they?
yes. Yeah, so the design, it features Western wallflowers and trilliums, Oregon irises, and Oregon sunshines, which...
Thank you.
And Counselor Bell.
See, I warned you somebody would ask what the flowers were. So I'm glad you were
did.
prepared.
You did.
We saw this at Arts and Culture Commission, and I said, oh, someone on council will ask what the flowers are. Be prepared.
Counselor Carey.
Saber, you referenced the current mural that's there. I guess it's a mural, but the current painting, and did not mention the one that came before that, which was all sorts of weird geometric purples and oranges, and nobody understood quite what it was. And we were darn glad to get rid of that one. And we're going to be really glad when this one goes up. But I'm not sure there's ever a picture taken of that that at least was able to be developed. One of the things that I do ask, we've had, this is sort of a softball, I hope, but we had some discussion last week about the adoption of a mural policy and an ordinance vis-a-vis how they can be constructed, approved, and all of that. Is anything that's gone on this, was that going to create a problem? And anybody can have heartburn over how you did it before the actual regulations got into place?
That's a great question. I met with the president or the current board president of the Monmouth Arts Commission to let her know about the project. And we did present to that commission 2 times to make sure we got all of their feedback. This was ahead of their ordinance, but Melody did mention, in the future, how things were going to work. We certainly wanted to make sure that there would be no heartburn around this process. But thank you for the question, and I do appreciate that.
All right. And I'll just comment, Saber will know I'm looking for my bird, but no problem there. This is fabulous. And definitely I remember the puzzle. It was quite vivid and abstract.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is great. And the color scheme's better. All right. So at this point, I will ask for the roll call, please, on the motion to approve the artwork and the expenditure of $6,375.
Counselor Carey,
Aye.
Counselor Lopez,
Aye.
Counselor Ridgway,
Aye.
Counselor Oberst,
Yes.
Counselor McKeel,
Yes.
Counselor Beltz,
Aye.
Right. Thank you for that unanimous vote. And thanks, Nikki. We look forward to the improvements. This will be so beautiful.
Thank you all very much. Appreciate it.
I'm sure there's some of those flowers growing right there in Jello Woods down by the creek too. So it'll be a fabulous option. That brings us to our second item, which is the first reading of ordinance number 1423 on our urban growth boundary amendment. So we have staff, community and economic development director, Suzanne Dovner.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and members of the City Council. I'm here tonight to give just a brief staff report for the first reading of Ordinance 1423. This is an ordinance to adopt Legislative Amendment 25-02, also known as the Urban Growth Boundary Amendment. It's consistent with Council Goal 3.3, which is to investigate the feasibility of completing a UGB land swap to increase the supply of buildable land inside city limits. So as you'll recall, we had a public hearing back in April 7th. It's taken us a little bit of time since that public hearing to prepare the adoption ordinance, but at the close of that public hearing on April 7th, after a lot of great public comment and testimony, the council did approve the legislative amendment to remove approximately 90 acres of land from the Monmouth urban growth boundary and add approximately 75 net acres of land. So because this is a legislative amendment, it does require adoption by an ordinance. That's why we're returning with the ordinance that has all the findings to support how the criteria are met for both the land swap for the House Bill 2647, and then also the proposed comprehensive plan map designations for the properties being brought in. So as I mentioned, since the April 7th meeting, staff has prepared those final findings, and we've worked with a land surveyor to prepare an updated legal description of the amended urban growth boundary, coordinated with Polk County, because that's where the ordinance will go next for the county's review and approval, and then on to DLCD. So we did receive a letter that came in before noon today from an attorney, Andrew Mulcahy, that raised some of the concerns as raised during the public hearing about the Area 1, the Mistletoe Road property not being contiguous to, in his belief, to the city limit. So I'd like to turn the time over to our city attorney, Greg Goebel, to be able to respond to that further.
Sure. Yeah. So Greg Goebel, I'm one of the attorneys at Sherman, Johnny, and Hoyt. I'm here sitting in Justin's place since he was occupied tonight. But yeah, so I was actually here at the last meeting on this issue. I believe it was back in April. And Mr. Mulkey's arguments that he's making in this letter are essentially the same arguments that he made back in April. So Suzanne and I, back in, I think it was late February, early March, met with DLCD as kind of a preliminary step to discuss potential issues with the UGB swap. And one of the issues that I brought up at that meeting was the contiguousness argument that we were receiving in public comment. And so it's been a few months now, but when I brought that up to DLCD, they said that was a non-issue for them. Didn't see that as an issue with them approving the ordinance. So well, I agree somewhat with Mr. Mulkey in that this is a kind of an odd bill. Anytime you have a kind of a one-off bill, you get little quirks like this. But from a legal standpoint, I would say that the parcel that is being brought in through the UGB swap that's separated by the road is contiguous. Kind of based off that too, in the letter, it's Mr. Mulkey discusses concerns that the county road itself separates the parcel being brought in through the UGB swap from the city limits. We've confirmed, we met with, I think it was last week, we met with the county over Zoom, or 2 weeks ago, Suzanne, myself, and Justin, to discuss ownership of the road. And the county the county attorney was able to confirm that the county does not own the road. So kind of like as is described in Suzanne's report, as part of the annexation, that half of the road would come into the city. So.
So I think the action is holding the first reading, and then if that is done this evening, then staff would return with a staff report on June 16th for the final reading to adopt the ordinance. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions they might have.
I'll go ahead and entertain questions before I gavel in. So Councilor Ridgway.
Thank you. So under my understanding of what you just spoke about in terms of the road, that's not county owned property. Am I clear in understanding that the boundary of properties would be like the midline of the road that separates one property from the other on the sides of the streets? Am I hearing that wrong?
That is correct. Yeah. So that is what the county, let me see the date of this email. Got an email May 22nd from Polk County Council confirming that the county doesn't own that portion of Mistletoe Road. That's in question. So it would go with the property.
The road is essentially just a straight line. There's no width to the road in terms of the property line. It's
correct. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions for Suzanne? Comments? Councilor Carey.
I make a comment to the council in particular. This, and for that matter, the audience, but this has been discussed thoroughly. We've been through this seemingly ad nauseum. It's not a new problem for us. I came onto council in 2010, and it was an issue at that point. How are we going to be able to build and grow? We do have land that's, and I think I think maybe Joan, you mentioned it in one of your testimonies in the housing need analysis, maybe that there is land available within the urban growth boundary, but it's not developable is the problem. And it's either from environmental constraints, it may be from a difficulty in development, it may be in landowners that really don't want to annex and they really don't want their property developed, understandably. And in this case, we've got two landowners that are interested in developing, and we ought to afford them the opportunity if we get through this whole process. It started out and it became, and I think this is a good thing to our council. We identified that we had a need for land to develop housing. We had a consultant come in and identify that housing needs analysis. And it was, Suzanne led that, and it was well done. And it was a little alarming because we need land for all kinds of things, more than just housing. To address that, we then developed a housing production strategy. So we've got a problem that's identified. What is the strategy that we can solve that problem with? And one of the things was housing rehabilitation. If you've been paying attention, I'm a big one on that. Let's rehabilitate the stock that we have. Let's partner with either with incentives or other things with developers to encourage them to come on board with us. One of the recommendations that came out of the housing production strategy called for either an expansion of the urban growth boundary or an exchange, a land exchange and a land swap. And that's where we've gotten to this point. And it needs to be noted, and it's reminded in the staff report, but never mentioned again. We're sending more land out of our urban growth boundary is shrinking. So 90 acres goes out, 75 comes in. Farmland, 90, the majority of that. When the 2647 was passed bipartisan in the Oregon legislature and with support from the Thousand Friends of Oregon, which they worked closely with the crafters that, and they have provided, and we have provided in our public comment, a lot of legitimate and understandable questions that have come in from the the audience, the public. And in each case, Suzanne has responded to those, either with a Q&A that was out that addressed each of the individual concerns that were there. In the staff report that is before us today, there's a very detailed analysis of how this is meeting the statewide planning goals, the Monmouth City Development Code, how we're moving forward and evidence of the planning. Planning Commission has reviewed this swap. They've been through that, the same drill that we have, and they unanimously recommended approval to the council. So that was their 2 bits on the thing. After debate and considerable discussion, the council voted in order to approve the land swap and move the comprehensive plan map, adjust that and get that process going. This is not one that will be, and the point that I'm finally going to get to is that this is not designed to be a quick fix. The discussion that has been circling around this about, the rent stress, and housing costs that we've got to be able to solve immediately. This won't solve this immediately. This is a 20-year plan. This is something that will benefit in 20 years. And we're required to have that 20-year supply of land to be able to develop that. So this is moving in a direction, and I'm guessing it'll move at a fairly glacial pace in terms of the development of Area 1. I think Area 2 is probably a little more prone to that because of the infrastructure that's in place. The high cost of housing is driving young families, in my opinion, to stay in rental units longer. And if the American dream is still alive, it has to do with owning property and being able to buy a house that's affordable given their income. And to be able to begin to develop that generational wealth that often comes with home ownership. And that's very difficult right now. Unfortunately, we've had, throughout the extensive public comment, we've drifted away from constructive arguments and inquiring arguments and sort of worked into a situation where we're really we're hearing more disparaging remarks of our staff, sometimes of council, and that's disappointing. Indicating that there may be something, that there's a shell game going on or that there's a swindle that's about to occur. There's no place in the public discourse. And if those are the case, let's have it. Let's have the information because we'll go get that. I don't believe there is that, but if there is, let's have it. And I'm failing to see, any suggestion of unethical behavior without any verification is really unacceptable in my opinion. I don't know why we need to publish salary and benefit information about our staff. I don't know how that advances the discussion about the land that we're talking about here. There'll be more discussions on this and several more levels, and we invite public testimony early and often. And I just hope that when we get to that point, we'll do a little better than what we have. I'm sorry, Council, it went longer than thanks, Randy. I went longer than I intended, but I felt like we needed to get that out. And that's my own personal opinion, not the opinion of the council, and I own it.
Councillor Oberst and then Councillor Lowe.
As council knows, I'm a man of few words. Thanks, John, for what he said. That sums up my feelings exactly. Thank you.
Councillor Lopez.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. One small, I think, correction on the record there to Councillor Carey's statements. My understanding, which may also be flawed, is that Thousand Friends initially opposed the bill. However, ultimately, at the final stages, they declined to engage and effectively took a neutral stance. Thank you.
Suzanne?
My understanding, and unfortunately I don't have a copy of the letter right in front of me, but my understanding is that they opposed using the House Bill 2647 process because it deviated from the traditional UGB swap method. And so they wanted to see the city go, while they saw the arguments why this would be justify a UGB swap, they thought it should go through a different process, was my understanding from that. So lights going on. Oh, there we go. Now it's working. I just have to make sure there's only two on at a time, maybe, or I don't know.
Is mine working? Yes.
Maybe that's it. Okay, I'll switch. Thank you, Jason Kessler, for
That was bad.
on that. Great tech help.
My house to do that with my television.
Tech support, yeah. Can my computer work now? All right. Unless there are any other comments? Yes, Councillor Ridgway.
Thank you. I think the biggest contention behind this issue is, at least to me, is the underlying idea that we need to create a large supply of housing. We have, as we heard in some of our public comments, the trends are not large growth within the region. It's actually leveling off. We had this thing happening about 2020 with the COVID, and the government's response to COVID caused a lot of things to change that we have built some of these projections upon. If you remember, this is only about 6 years ago, there was multiple bills, in fact, at the federal level that inserted trillions of dollars into our economy. That naturally led to a lot of inflation. Some of the things that we're seeing as far as our housing prices now are a result of that inflation, not just that previous generations, Gen Xers, boomers. Sorry, it's not a matter of you just have to pull up your bootstraps and work harder to get your house. We have real issues of inflation that have made it difficult to purchase housing now for younger homeowners. That's not necessarily due to a shortage of our housing supply. Things that are beyond our control here in Monmouth have led to these increased prices. We have, as Councillor Carey mentioned, we have several houses and units within our jurisdiction that need to be brought up to code. Those are usable properties. Those could probably be inhabited by younger families, maybe not wealthy individuals, but I would like to see those things progress. That would be a great opportunity to add some housing inventory to our city. So I think, for me anyway, the premise has been the issue of concern for me that we just need to add 70 acres of housing land to our inventory. I struggle to see that that this is not a land use decision. It seems like the new legislation purposefully calls it something other than a land use decision, so that there's not the normal checks and balances and the rescission opportunity for the council to go back and vote against it if we felt that we had incorrect information given to us. To me, I don't think there's anything nefarious going on. I'm not going to question anyone's integrity in bringing up information to us, and I think that was done ethically, and I don't have any issues there. But if the council is led to believe that we have this crisis of housing that we need to prepare for, then that's to me false. I don't see the urgency. I don't see the need to drastically increase our supply of land and buildable land at that, when we have trends more recently, and data has been produced more recently that shows our trends are not massive growth in the state of Oregon or the Willamette Valley specifically. We're leveling off. We have jobs leaving the state. We have businesses leaving the state. We don't have a lot of births currently. This is not a booming region. We have an elderly population compared to other counties. So I've been against it. I talked to at length on April 7th when we had this that for multiple reasons that this proposal doesn't meet the requirements, that it's not necessary, that some information had changed. I still hold by that. I know the council had voted to approve it. I see that this is a land use decision. We're talking about land and how it's used. So you could tell me that we're not in the city of Monmouth, and I would say we are. It's an obvious fact. This is a land use decision, regardless of what you want to call it, which allows this to be subject to a rescission vote. So I would make a motion to rescind the legislative amendment 25-02 previously approved on April 7th, 2026.
Before I ask for a second, my understanding of parliamentary procedure is that the only an individual can ask for a rescission of a prior vote if that person voted in the majority originally. That's the only understanding I have of how somebody can ask for a revote if they voted originally in the majority.
That sounds right to me. Granted, I don't know that answer off the top of my head. I guess as I was understanding, this is the first reading of the ordinance. Normally you would have a vote at the next meeting.
And it's been a while since I have read the charter front to back, but I believe you are correct that that's detailed in the charter. So it may not be a standard Robert's Rules thing, but I think it may be
I know.
A charter provision. It's been, like I say, it's been several years since I read the thing closely. Roxanne has something on that.
Roxanne,
Madam Mayor, since I have been in the position once of being in the majority, it was my position, this is probably 8 years ago, where I did call for a revote on something. And so I do believe that that is correct. You can only request a revote if you voted in the majority.
Councilor Carey.
In addition to that, that would be a move for reconsideration. And the window for that expires typically at the next meeting. So, and I'm not sure that that even applies in a first reading setting, but you certainly could move for reconsideration, but the window for reconsideration closes at the end of the next meeting.
Excellent point. This is not actually this is not actually the further discussion on the actual legislative amendment. This is an ordinance, which is a separate item, right? I'm sorry.
Yeah,
So
that is correct. I mean, if we want to take a break so I can look at it for 5 minutes or so, but I believe that you're correct that it is too late.
all right, we will take we'll give you 5, but hopefully we can be back in 3. Thank you. Dean, if I can. Thank you for that break so that we could review the claim. And so, Greg, if you want to speak to either my issue or Councilor Ridgway's.
Yeah, so I guess I want to start first. So this is not a land use hearing in that it's not subject to land use procedure. I understand we're dealing with the UGB, so the urban growth boundary of the city, but the bill that's specifically being enacted here, it specifically says it's not subject to the procedure. So yeah, we are dealing with property, we're dealing with how property is used, but it's not subject to Oregon land use law in terms of, you know, the appeal structure or how those kind of ordinances move forward. So based off that too, so I was able to pull up during the break. So this is the city council rules of procedure for the city of Monmouth, and this was pulled from the city's website. And in terms of, so when I scroll down, and go down to section 13, voting, discusses how votes are supposed to occur. And then in subsection N, it discusses a motion to reconsider, which is what would be applicable here. So it states a motion to reconsider any action taken by the council may be made only during the meeting the action was taken, or if the meeting is adjourned at the adjourned meeting, or the next regularly scheduled meeting following the meeting when the vote was taken. A motion to reconsider must be made by a member of the prevailing side, but may be seconded by any member. And so based off that, obviously it's been at least a couple meetings since the meeting back in April. So we're not, again, there's a gap between the meetings, and the motion would have to come from the side who made the prevailing motion in the first place.
All right, thank you. And thanks to our athletic director for his knowledge of parliamentary procedure to add to that. So I'm sorry, that motion apparently does not apply in this case. So I'm just going to go ahead and conduct the first reading. This is a vote is not taken on the first reading. This will be brought back to us for a second reading and discussion and adoption. So this is the first reading of ordinance number 1423, an ordinance amending the Monmouth Urban Growth Boundary, UGB, to remove approximately 90 acres located south of Falls City Highway, add 75 net acres located in the 10,700 block of Mistletoe Road, assessor map 8524, tax lot 400, and 6685 Talmadge Road, assessor map 8429, tax lot 1900, and to apply City of Monmouth comprehensive plan map designations of medium density and low density residential to properties added to the UGB. And we did have public comment on that. So Suzanne, we'll let you step back, and I'll call David Pastor for 3 minutes. Pam, sorry to send you back to the timer there. And then we will move on with the rest of our business agenda.
David Pastor, Monmouth, Oregon, just outside the city limits, 11100 Mistletoe Road. There are several inaccuracies and unfortunately false facts that have been presented in reference to this, and I disagree with the attorney. I'm not an attorney myself, but I can read the law. It is a land use decision. The motion made by Mr. Ridgway was quite appropriate, should have been seconded, but the mayor's not allowing that. Also, I spoke with Gordon Howard at the DLCD and asked him specifically about what you had said when you mentioned to Ms. Duffner's that it wasn't on his radar. He said, well, I wasn't deciding on whether it was contiguous or not. I was just saying we don't decide that. We let the law decide that. Your information was inaccurate. I also spoke with Todd Whitaker, who is the public works director in the county. And I asked him, who owns that road? And he said, we do. He would know who owns the road, more so than the city attorney. He wanted the city to buy it, but they didn't. They maintain it. So unfortunately, Mr. and Mrs. members of the council and mayor, you haven't gotten accurate information. I don't know if it's intentional. I don't try to decide that. I'm not trying to attack people. But also when I read that the statistics you are given say that in 2025, we were the 8th most rent burdened city in the state. That is not an accurate statistic. And I pointed that out, never had an apology from Ms. Duffner, never been clarified. We do not have a housing crisis in the city. And it's hard to not be upset when you speak and people don't listen and don't believe you and you have the facts. And that's important. And Mr. Carey, you're inaccurate with your statement about 1,000 friends and also about the unanimous vote of the Planning Council. They did not do that. So it just seems to me that there's a bias to get this thing through, to do it quickly. You wanted to February 17th. We showed up with an attorney. You were going to read it and vote on it that night, and you didn't. So all I'd want you to do is to sit down and talk with us. If you had done that, we probably could have come up with a better solution, one that we could have worked out. And maybe it's still not too late for that. I hope so. Because I really don't like to argue with people. I like to get along with them. It's much more fun to do that. Thank you.
All right, thank you. We will then go on to the next item on our business agenda, which is a series of public hearings regarding our budget recommendations from our budget committee. So we will call up Sean Waite, our city finance director, to review those. Thank you, Sean. And start with the revenue sharing.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Council. Good evening, everyone. It's nice to be at this phase of the budget process. First, right? Seems like I've been here a while, but it's been, 5 weeks. So tonight, one of the actions will be in regards to a resolution to receive state revenue sharing. Tonight's action is required as an annual step that allows the city to receive state revenue sharing funds for fiscal year 2026-27. State revenue sharing is distributed to cities using a formula established by the state that considers factors such as population, property taxes per capita, and relative income levels. The city receives distributions from state-collected cigarette, liquor, marijuana, and highway taxes. These revenues provide an important funding source for local services. The fiscal year 2026-27 budget includes $331,000 in state revenue shared that is dedicated to the general fund, and $900,000 in gas tax revenue, which is budgeted within the street fund. Gas tax revenue are restricted by state law, and they may only be used for street, bicycle, pedestrian, and transportation-related items, including maintenance and improvements. Before a city can receive these revenues, Oregon law requires several steps. The city must have levied property tax in the prior year, which we have done. The budget committee must hold a public hearing and make recommendation regarding the use of state shared revenue, which they have done. And the city council must hold a public hearing and adopt a resolution electing to receive the funds. The budget committee has completed its required review and recommended the use of these revenue funds in the city's adopted budget. The staff recommends using these revenues as budgeted to support ongoing city operations and transportation infrastructure needs. This approach helps maintain financial stability while continuing to provide essential services to the community. The state revenue sharing provides an important source of funding that helps the city maintain services and infrastructure while reducing reliance on local revenue sources. Adoption of this resolution satisfies the statutory requirements and allows the cities to receive those funds in fiscal year 2026-27. And with that, I'll turn this over to council for discussion.
Actually, at this point, I will open the public hearing and we'll see if we have any public comments. I will open the public hearing on the issue of electing to receive state revenue sharing funds for fiscal year 26-27. We have any comment submitted? I don't see anyone here. All right, so council, if you have questions of Sean, we can take those now. Yes, Councilor Lopez.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. One question. If for some reason we decided to decline state revenue sharing, where would these funds go?
So they would actually, the state would have to do a recalculation and they would allocate them out to other local jurisdictions, so county and other cities.
So they would not help reduce the state's own budget deficit by any measure. They would really just literally go to very tiny increments to the, over 100 other cities in Oregon that elected to accept them.
That's correct.
Gotcha. Thank you. Fascinating.
I'll close the hearing and then we can have motion and deliberation. So I will close the public hearing and entertain a motion from the council.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move approval of resolution number 2029, declaring the city's election to receive state revenues in the fiscal year 2026 to 2027.
Second, Lopez.
Thank you, Councilor McKeel, for the motion and Councilor Lopez for the second. Any other questions or discussion? All right, we will ask Pam for the roll call, please.
Councilor Belts?
Aye.
Councilor Carey?
Aye.
Councilor Lopez?
Aye.
Councilor McKeel?
Yes.
Councilor Oberst?
Yes.
Councilor Ridgway?
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0.
All right, thank you. And that will move us to the next budget item. And actually, I'll go ahead and open the public hearing first of all on resolution number 30, or 2030, which would be to adopt the budget and make appropriations. So I will open the hearing and take staff report on the next item.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Council. Tonight's agenda item is the public hearing and consideration of the fiscal year 2026-2027 budget, making appropriations, levying ad valorem taxes, and adopting the fiscal year 2027-2031 capital improvement plan. The budget before you tonight is a result of several months of planning and review by staff, the budget committee, and the city council. The budget committee met on May 5th and on May 12th to review the proposed budget and capital improvement plan in detail. Following those discussions and deliberations, the committee approved both documents and recommended city council for adoption. Tonight's public hearing provides the final opportunity for public comment before adoption of the budget. The total fiscal year 2026-2027 budget is $51.9 million and includes approximately $10.1 million in capital improvement projects throughout the organization. These projects are funded through a variety of resources, including capital reserves, system development charges, grants, urban renewal contributions, and other dedicated revenues. This approach allows the city to continue to invest in infrastructure and facilities while minimizing impacts to operating funds. Overall, I'm pleased to report that the budget maintains current service levels, addresses council priorities and policies, and complies with both state budget law and city's adopted financial policies. As discussed throughout the budget process, the city remains financially stable in fiscal year 2026-2027 due to the responsible financial management practices and continued efforts to manage expenditures. However, long-term financial projections continue to show expenditures growing faster than revenues. This trend is not unique to Monmouth and is a challenge many Oregon cities and counties are facing. This is a result of increasing costs for public safety, infrastructure, deferred maintenance, employee benefits, and just general operational costs. The general fund has achieved the council's revised stabilization target of 12.5% ending fund balance. This accomplishment is largely attributed to the implementation of the public safety fee and the ongoing cost containment efforts across the organization. While we have achieved this benchmark, maintaining that reserve level in future years will continue to require fiscal discipline and future discussions about revenue opportunities and also service levels. In addition, all other operating funds meet or exceed the city council's required 25% reserve target, and there are no proposed water or sewer utility rate increases included in this budget. Notable investments included in the fiscal year 2026-2027 include technology improvements as far as keeping up with firewalls and computer replacement, a grant-funded dial-a-ride pilot program through the senior center, upgraded body-worn cameras and technology for the police department, and a $400,000 community development block grant to support future projects and programs. Within the Power and Light Fund, a 6% rate increase is included based on the cost of service analysis completed last year. And the department director, Wade Carey, will be up here to speak to that in the next agenda topic. The budget also includes a $200,000 reserve to provide in case MyNet cannot meet their debt service, which we had talked about during the budget committee. MyNet has met their debt service requirements and they plan to continue into the future. The Transit Fund received additional state grant funding to support transit operations. Staff will continue to evaluate options to continue transit operations, and those will be brought to council for consideration throughout the year next year. Looking ahead, one of the city's most significant long-term financial challenges remains the personnel-related costs. Employee health insurance and workers' compensation costs increased between 12 and 14% for fiscal year 27. And while PERS rates remain stable in fiscal year 27, they are anticipated to increase substantially in future fiscal years. One thing that I mentioned during the budget committee meetings is that the city has participated in a pension obligation bond, which pooled with other cities, which has relieved some of that rate impact for PERS. We will have paid off that bond in 2028, and staff will be evaluating if that is a good option to relieve some of this rate increase in PERS moving forward and bring that to council for your consideration. The capital improvement plan provides a 5-year roadmap for maintaining and improving city infrastructure. While not all projects are funded immediately, the CIP serves as an important planning tool that helps prioritize future investments and identifies funding opportunities. Several projects included in the CIP remain unfunded and will require future funding discussions. In summary, the fiscal year 2026-2027 budget maintains all service levels, meets the city's reserve requirements, invests in critical infrastructure and community services, and positions the city to continue operating in a fiscally responsible manner while preparing for future financial challenges. And before I conclude, I would really like to thank the budget committee, department directors, my wonderful city manager for help in developing this budget to the city council. They have really helped me understand the city and the budget process in a very short amount of time. And I could not be here presenting this budget to you without their support. And with that, I will turn it back over to council.
All right, are there any questions for staff? Councilor McKeel.
I just want to thank you for wearing track shoes as you were coming in and just really kind of running it fast and furious to get to know this. So thank you.
And were there any public comments on the resolution to adopt the fiscal year budget?
No public comment.
All right, at that, I will close the hearing and entertain a motion for purposes of further deliberation.
I would like to move approval of resolution number 2030, adopting the fiscal year 2026-27 budget, making appropriations, levying ad valorem taxes, maximum amount available, and approval of the fiscal year 2027-2031 CIP.
Second.
Thank you, Councilor McKeel for the motion and Councilor Belts for the second. Any additional questions, Councilor King?
No questions, but just a comment that came out of the budget committee, the discussions in the budget committee. And I think they're very positive suggestions, and I think that hopefully they'll be incorporated. Councilor Lopez was anxious to get a dashboard that showed all rate increases. That isn't necessarily a budget thing, but that's an ongoing thing. And I think that's a darn good idea, so we can plan for that. And that came from our budget committee discussions. The development of fleet inventory, past purchases and anticipated future. The city manager's already talked about identifying and tagging jobs or tasks or positions that were funded, but for any kind of reasons not accomplished. We just note those things in there. That's in the interest of transparency and a good budget management. And it's always good to have a warning that there are storm clouds on the horizon. So those are 4 good things that I think that came out of our budget process this year. And I don't know who can't be just really pleased that we're maintaining current service level. That's awesome.
Councilor Ridgway.
And I had a question about this particular motion with the fiscal year 26-27 budget, but we're looking at fiscal year 27 to 31 capital improvement project. And I remember with the budget committee that we looked at those anticipated and projected expenses that are coming up. How flexible are future fiscal year budgets? Let me try to restate that. As far as the capital improvement projects, how flexible are those dollars in future budget cycles? If that makes sense.
Yeah, so thank you for the question. And those projects are earmarks and can be reprioritized or changed at any point. So right now, all that's being approved is for fiscal year 27 projects. And then like Councilor Carey was talking about, we'll be discussing like what projects didn't get done or what portions or basically the status and what may have to roll into next fiscal year, which will then help develop and inform what those projects are going to be in the CIP for fiscal year 28. And it can change based on council priorities. So none of those projects moving into future fiscal years are set in stone.
So can I ask why this particular motion includes years past this current fiscal year, and why it doesn't just 26, 27 or fiscal year 27 specifically?
Yeah, so technically a CIP is a 5-year planning tool, and it is the understanding of the CIP that you're really only approving the budget for the fiscal year that you're coming into. You're approving the whole 5-year plan as acknowledging that there's some projects identified in there, but again, provides flexibility that they may not be done in the current fiscal year, or the future projects could be reprioritized. It's really just how capital improvement planning is earmarked for projects.
Yeah, good question. And a reminder, every year we look at the next 5 years. So it does change. It is super flexible.
And so the CIP is not an appropriation. It is simply a list of things we'd like to get done if, and I can't recall whether this year's did, but in the past, there was always a column that said funding identified, yes, no. And so ones that we know where the money is going to come from, say a parks SDCs, right? That we can say, we've got the funding identified, the money's in the bank, we're going to use it to do this thing. Others, we're going to have to say, not so much. We're going to have to figure out how we're going to pay for that. So this is not appropriating money. It's simply saying it's a wish list, if you will. And we got to figure out how to buy the wish list if we're going to be able to. But you got to have one to know where you're headed. It's to help those folks back there do their planning.
I'll recognize Rochelle.
And just a simple note as well, some of these projects take more than 1 year. So that's why you have a 5-year plan, so that you're figuring out your funding for the next 5 years, although the actual motion is only for this year's budget. So that's typically why it's a 5-year situation.
Another good point. All right. Seeing Councillor Lopez.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I want to offer a huge thanks to staff, the department heads, yourself, our city manager, and staff as a whole. I recognize that this was a difficult budget to create, and I want to take a moment to celebrate that this was unanimously passed by the budget committee. A first in maybe in my memory on council. Maybe that memory is flawed, but it was just a fantastic achievement. And as Councillor McKeel stated, coming in with running shoes on, right? I had prepared a large statement. I'm going to just read a very short excerpt from that. Is that, you know, what stands out to me in this budget is the continued commitment to the values that we have supported as a council and as a community. I believe Monmouth is already approaching growth, development, and its assessment of service levels through a real quality of life and quality of community lens. And I think that matters really deeply. I also think there's an opportunity for us to speak more intentionally about that vision moving forward. I appreciate Councillor Carey's comments. I think he is a crucial driver in that vision, as are all that come into this room and provide comment. I do want to recognize that, you know, change is going to come to us in the future. Future budgets are likely going to be harder than this one. And, you know, change is hard, but it will happen whether we have a hand shaping it or not. The responsibility of local government is not to stop change, but to guide it in ways that strengthen the quality of life, preserve community identity, and create stability and, you know, the services that we rely on day in and day out and often take for granted. I believe that's already happening here in many ways, and I just look forward to being a part of that as we continue to formalize and articulate those frameworks and you know, future strategic thought, goal setting, budget conversations, etc. as we move forward. So again, just celebrating the achievement here and the deep level of livability that we've been able to create in the community. It is no small task, and thank you.
All right, I will ask Pam for a roll call, please, on resolution number 2030, a resolution adopting the budget, making appropriations, levying ad valorem taxes, and adopting the capital improvement plan for the 26-27 fiscal year. Even though the capital improvement plan goes through 2031, the resolution mentions the 26-27 fiscal year because of the dollar amount, I believe. Yep. that's what we are adopting. So
Counselor Carey,
Aye.
Counselor Lopez,
Aye.
Counselor Oberst,
Yes.
Counselor Ridgway,
Aye.
Counselor Beltz,
Aye.
Counselor McKeel.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0.
all right, thank you, Sean. And that brings us to our last business item this evening, also from the budget process, which is the public hearing to set rates and charges. But we have to have a public hearing. I don't think we have a public hearing on this, do we?
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to come in and discuss the rate increase for Monmouth Power and Light. Last year, we presented the rate study and cost of service analysis. The 6% was identified at that time. So this really is just an update on the information you've already gotten. Monmouth Power and Light is not alone in the rate pressures that we're seeing. I just heard just a couple weeks ago that Salem Electric was looking at almost a 5% this year. So, you know, the situation that the region's in with power supply and cost constraints, coupled with material costs and labor costs and services costs, it's, you know, we're just one of many facing the same problem. So we've tried to prioritize our spending. We've tried to look at our capital improvement projects. We've tried to be as judicious as we could with how we spend our money. But unfortunately, we were a little slow to react to the increased cost, and it kind of put us behind. And so that's why we had 6% last year and again 6% this year. Any questions?
All right, I'm sorry, and I'm trying to figure out if we need to have a public hearing, if I need to open the public hearing on this, or if we just adopt the rate increase. And I'm trying to go back through prior notes. So that was my, just a minute. If we have to have, clearly, I don't think there's anyone here for a public hearing, but I'm trying to recall if that's.
I can comment if you need.
Keep talking. Keep talking.
Sure you can.
Madam Mayor, I don't think there's any harm in just opening the public hearing.
No need to adopt the rate change, right?
Off the top of my head, I'm saying there's no harm in having a public hearing.
All right,
Yeah.
fine. I will then open the public hearing and have questions. Anyone with questions of staff? Yes, Counselor.
So a portion of this is Bonneville and their rates going up for us, and a portion of it is catching up with the cost of supplies and personnel and other things, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
All right, and Counselor McKeel.
So I can understand that we need a rate increase. However, the $6 a month increase is going to hurt people. I just have a question, and possibly you are not the person to answer, but I know that we have funds for the Polk Resource Center where folks can go in and apply for that. Did I hear correctly that they can only do that once, or can they do that many times?
Yeah, Polk County FCO, when they came in, presented, their policy is to do it once a year. I will say, and it was going to be part of my update, that when we did the review of the public safety fee and we realized, and they came in that we've already expended the $10,000 in funds that we appropriated for that. We did have some savings, and so we transferred another $1,500. We worked with Nicole at Polk County FCO to see what she could get dispersed in the month of June, and she thought that would be the best, and so we were able to get the funds to them. So we did add additional this year to help people during this month. In the budget for next year, we increased it from $10,000 to $20,000 to help additional residents.
Is there, you're probably not the person to ask this, with this question, but if you are so tight that you can't pay that $6 utility bill, allowing somebody to do that only once a year, is there any way that we can work with them to allow people to do that more times than once a year, or do they have other systems in place that will help them?
I would have to ask Polk County FCO and to see if they could look at that and then get back to the council with that.
My concern is because they're already running out of money with the current policy, and our ability to continue to increase our contribution to that is not going to be able to meet increased demand. Yeah, I mean, we can get the information, but I feel like there's already enough folks getting it, even if they can only go once.
Are we having issues with people getting their utilities shut off because they can't pay?
I can't answer that specifically. Every month we have, it's not called shut off day, it's called something else. Pam?
Disconnect non-payment.
Disconnect for non-payment. Excuse me, I just wanted to say that so we don't cut out that. So every month there are accounts that are done for non-payment, but I don't have any statistical data to tell you if that's increased over the last 6 months or any of that. If that's something the council would like to inquire or require, I can get that for you for the next meeting.
I'm also going to say this is kind of off topic. This is off topic. So actually, I'm going to wait and get more information, and we can bring this up at a future.
That would be
meeting.
great, but I don't think it is off topic if we're going to raise the rates and there's people who aren't going to be able to pay their utility bill because of the rate increase. So I think it is kind of part and parcel with it.
Yeah, and we don't have the answers tonight, so you can vote no on the motion to raise the rates if that's not satisfactory to you. But that is, in fact, part of the budget. It was budgeted to increase the rates.
But we'll be bringing information to the council about people who are struggling with this.
She said she would.
All right, great. Thank you.
Get more information from Polk County, who runs that program for us. All right, so no public comment on the rates. All right, then we'll close the hearing and consider a motion.
Madam Mayor, I move approval of Resolution 2031, setting rates and charges for electric utility service, and repealing Resolution 1999 and Resolution 2012.
Second.
Thank you, Councillor Carey, for the motion and Councillor Belts for the second. Any additional questions? Yes, Councillor Ridge.
Thank you. Anytime that there's a rate increase, there's always going to be some apprehension about it and some wringing of hands, and we don't want to see people unable to make their power payments. Monmouth Power and Light operates a little bit differently than Pacific Power, for example, in that there's not a profit that's made from utility payments. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So your department isn't rolling in a money bin of money that's left over from extras that are not spent. Is that correct?
No, Councilor. No, you're not.
Just wanted to make sure it's not there's no stockpiling of funds from the consumer within the city, that these are directly applied to the source, and that's what allows the power to reach our homes. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, Pam, if I could get a roll call, please, on resolution number 2031, setting rates and charges for electric utility service and repealing resolutions 1999 and 2012.
Councillor Ridgway,
Aye.
Councillor Oberst,
Yes.
Councillor McKeel,
Yes.
Councillor Lopez,
Aye.
Councillor Carey,
Aye.
Councillor Belts.
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0.
All right, thank you
very much.
Thank you. All right, and that completes our business agenda and brings us to reports. I do have For my mayor's report this evening, actually, I'm going to jump to boards and commissions, so maybe we can get through this. We do have an urban renewal agency meeting yet to come this evening, so hopefully we can keep these brief. On Wednesday, May 27th, the MyNet Budget Committee met to consider adoption of the budget for MyNet for fiscal year 26-27. That was taken care of in one meeting, folks, so it can get done. There's a great budget document that I can share with folks, but really the information looking at the growth of MyNet over time, not only sort of in our legacy market, MyNet holds roughly a 78 penetration rate in the Monmouth Independent Service area. And then, of course, growth in the Dallas area that was a result of the creation of Willamette Valley Fiber and expansion into rural Polk County as part of a grant that was received from the counties. So MyNet now serves Rick Creole, Cloud Corner, South Dallas, and Falls City. But they are doing all of this without additional staff. They have been able to really become an efficient, lean operation. So that is certainly something. I will let folks know that because the last increase in MyNet's data rate plans was in July of 2022. The budget committee approved a measure to offset rates, and there will be an increase to the 500 megabytes and the 1 gig products of $5 and $3 per month. So those will go up. I'll let you know that there are also over 100 multi-gig customers for MyNet service in our community. So I have more details and information if folks would like, but that is my MyNet report. Do we have other reports of boards and commissions? Yes, Councilor.
Thank you. The Arts and Culture Commission met on the 21st of May. Several things to report. Prism Gallery reported to us that they received a $46,000 grant from T-Mobile to help them develop a photography studio and to purchase a kiln. They will be participating with the Art Walk on July the 11th. Art in the Park in conjunction with Music in the Park will be happening on Wednesdays. We had a guest speaker, Sabre Jewell, who came and spoke with us about the mural project. We were all very excited to see that and see the artwork. And again, we did ask the question about what those flowers were. We had a wonderful reception here for Judy Phipps, the artist that provided the artwork in our hallway here. 35 people attended. We presented certificates and gift cards for Spectrum Works to 2 students at the Western Student Award. For artwork that they had done. Instead of purchasing art, we've decided to purchase gift cards and give them to deserving artists. We did have a sidewalk chalk art. If you haven't seen the video, it's super cute. We had about 25 different people participate. Saturday, May 19th, artists were quite enthusiastic about the theme, Why I Love Monmouth. And their art highlighted the parks, trees, the trolley, families with children, and the ice cream shop. Lastly, we think we came to maybe possibly sort of kind of a decision about purchasing pre-made canvases for the AARP mural happening at the senior center. Fingers crossed that this is the right solution. Thank you.
Great. Other board and commission reports. Yes, Councilor Oak.
Trees. We did our contest again this year and had 10 winners. There were only 12 entrants. The year before we had 11 entrants. The year before that we had 8. So the decision was made in our postmortem to drop it to 5 winners next year. And part of that is that Electric Director Carey worked his tail off in getting us through this tree planting. And we, as a board, want to step up and do more of the work next year on talking to people, getting the dirt and so on. So dropping it to 5 and summer hiatus. That's it.
Okay, thank you. And Councilor Lopez and Councilor McKeel.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. What fun things going on. Oh my goodness. Deep affection for the arts, and I just want to say, like, please come back and report back when those spaces open. I would be very personally interested in what access looks like for those prison gallery spaces to the public. Very exciting. I have a report from the Homeless Alliance. The Mid-Willamette Valley Homeless Alliance is our region's COC, so Continuum of Care. They're the entity with which we, amongst other things, engage with the federal government to bring federal dollars into our local region that support activities that help people to both prevent and come out of homelessness. So the Homeless Alliance has been going through their budget process and did pass the budget committee. They did pass the budget. I'll come back with a more complete report, knock on wood, once it is finalized by the full board at our next meeting. And then other Homeless Alliance news, I wanted to share that the NOFO, the Notice of Funding Opportunity, did drop today. And what that is that's that federal competition for grant funds to bring them back into regions across the nation. We have two projects here in Monmouth that are on the ground projects that in some way, shape, or form receive some level of funding through the federal government, bringing critical supports and jobs into our community right here in Monmouth. And this NOFO, the nature of it's changed. I've read it a few times. I still don't fully grasp it. It's going to probably take a couple more readings before I really understand it myself. But the federal government's changing the nature of this competition. And the important takeaway is that, gosh, it's a very dynamic situation. So I do believe that this is a better picture than was originally painted by the last proposed NOFO that failed due to court challenges. But ultimately, I mean, it is about us as a critical part of the infrastructure in our regional community to just uphold those values and lean into strengthening our local systems where possible. I also want to note that the PIT count, the point in time count information, was released as well. All this within the past 2 business days. So the PIT count was released. I'll have a more complete report on that data as well. As accompanying the PIT count, they released the AHRAR, Annual Homelessness Assessment Report, and they being the federal government. And homelessness across the nation is down 3%, but it remains very high here in Oregon, especially with regard to youth, families, and seniors comparatively. Those are not necessarily the largest categories, but they are the quickest growing categories of homelessness here in our state. So more on that when I have it, but wanted you to receive that information hot off the press. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor McHugh.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just have a quick update from the Transportation Commission. They have actively supported the bike safety education program at Monmouth Elementary School. And just want to let you know that the commission chairperson, Linda Bersani, sent out an email to the commissioners this last week that this spring, the bike safety class for kindergarten through 2nd graders was a great success. On the last day of their lesson, the 2nd graders got to take a bike ride with representatives of the Monmouth Police Department, the Polk Fire Department. So now those kindergartners and 1st graders are going to aspire to be the big kid 2nd graders next year. Chairperson Bersani just made a note that the PE teacher and other school staff, administrators, and parent volunteers deserve all the credit for a successful experience for the K through 12, kindergarten through 2nd grader learners. And next up is putting reservation in the 3rd through 5th grade level bike fleet for fall. And we're going to hopefully have a successful class for the 3rd to 5th graders when school is back. So we are coming up, this is a bike community now. No, it has been.
I got to tell you, I watched the kids ride down my street little ducks in a row all the way down. It was fabulous.
I wondered if perhaps you'd put on your helmet and join them. Councilor Oberst, when I saw reports.
Too fast for me.
Too fast for you. All right. If there are, well, we're going to go to the city manager's report and we'll have council comments.
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, I wanted to give an update on the audio situation in the chambers. So we have hired an audio, well, we haven't hired him yet, but we have an audio engineer from Cascade Audio coming on June 19th to do a professional assessment on the audio in the chambers. We had been working with someone who works at WOO, and their schedule is pretty hectic, and we just thought, let's just go this route and go that way. So I think we'll all be happy to have a report, deal with what that means, and go forward with that. The Monmouth Recreation Park. So I'm excited to say that they're completing the punch list this week. The last thing that's left is a bit of paving. The path that connects the neighborhood is the only thing left. So the boardwalk is complete. The pavilion is complete. The bathrooms will open tomorrow. And Public Works is currently waiting for the dedication plaque to come in, and then they'll be scheduling the dedication ceremony. And we'll make a big deal about it because it's exciting. Community Development was excited to announce that an application has been submitted for a 2-bay car wash that'll go behind Dairy Queen. Very excited about that. Lucky Crow Farm Stand and Eatery has received their occupancy permit, and so they have scheduled a soft opening, and that's starting on June 11th. You have to have reservations, but that's exciting, very exciting. Also, Volunteer Monmouth is there's a website that you can go in and volunteer for all of the events this summer, and volunteers are needed. So if you could share that information with folks, that would be fantastic. The library summer kickoff carnival for summer reading is June 6th from 1 to 3 p.m. at the Monmouth Library. Just to give you an update on finance, there are two, we have one employee who's retiring, and so that position is open, and interviews will be occurring in the next week or two. Also, we have a front office staff position open, and so in the interim, I just want to let you know, so Debbie Kunkel, who worked at the police department and is retired, is going to come back as a temporary part-time person to help us with phones. So if you walk in and you see her, I just wanted you to understand why she was there, because we all know she retired. So no, we did not do that. But that should work out great. The senior center, Barbara wanted to let everyone know she was invited last week by the governor's office and AARP to a presentation up in Portland, and Oregon has officially joined the AARP network of age-friendly states and communities. With AARP, AGE Plus, and the Governor's Commission on Senior Services, Oregon is launching a multi-sector plan on aging and is one of only 14 states who have committed to the futures of older adults in this way. So she's excited about that. A new podcast is up. Make sure you catch that. And on a personal, I will be on vacation June 17th through the 25th. And then on June 26th, which is a Friday, I will be in La Pine for an LOC board meeting. So that's all I have.
All right, that will take us to council comments, and then we will adjourn to a brief urban renewal agency.
Just a quick reminder that Pride is this Saturday, so come and get the best hot dogs west of the Mississippi, cooked by Councilor Lopez and served by many of our councilors. So, but really the comment that I want to make is Central Panthers boys baseball team beat Ridgeview tonight 4-2 in the semifinals and are going on to the finals to beat Thurston on June 8th. So just, I think we need to have that in there.
Yeah, go Panthers. It's quite an exciting run for our boys baseball. Yes, Councilor.
So I live near Monmouth Recreational Park, and it used to be just this big empty space with a couple of baseball fields, and then a local group got together and built a skate park, and then that started breaking down, so we built a new skate park, turned the old skate park into pickleball. We added some paths, and we built former Councilor Milligan a dog park. He was the advocate for that. He pushed and pushed and pushed until one year it rose to the top of council's wish list. And we added more paths, and we've added a boardwalk and new and improved bathrooms. And it's just been amazing to watch this little piece of dirt that was severely underutilized for decades, finally really blossoming into a community amenity. And I just love it. It's fabulous. Going walking down there on a regular basis.
I do want to, unfortunately, it's sort of becoming a feature. We lost a couple of, again, in the last couple of months, some people who had tremendous impact on our community. So I do want to recognize Richard Sorensen. And John knows these people well, but he actually was a professor at Western Oregon University from 1969 to 1999. And he was a music professor. So he not only taught students about the love of music, but he ran many ensembles at Western Oregon. But he formed a group called the Reconstituted Monmouth Independence Town Band, which played at our 4th of July. That group was in existence for over 40 years with him as the band leader. So losing Dick Sorensen was quite a loss for our community. And then more recently, Jerry Gerard. Jerry Gerard served as he taught at Western. He was very involved in education there, but he also served as the Dean of Education and was succeeded by his son, Mark Gerard. Jerry's 3 sons all went to school here, and he was not only a great educator, but he was also a coach and coached many, many teams for the children's leagues here. And Jerry and Linda recently celebrated their 64th wedding anniversary. So quite a loss for our community. And I know you might have a comment about either Dr. Sorensen or Dr. Gerard.
Both. Dick Sorensen did it all. He was the pep band, he was the jazz band guy, he was the marching. We had a marching band at one point, and provided music for musicals. And then you mentioned the 4th of July celebration, but he was sort of the music man in town and well respected on campus, and educated many music educators during his 30 years here. And Jerry Gerard was an undergrad at OCE in those days, and then went away, got his degrees, became a faculty member and ultimately the dean, and was instrumental in certainly my career, my opportunities that presented themselves. He was a good buffer between, in my area, health and physical education, and the liberal arts and sciences people that thought we were helmet heads, and presidents from time to time that didn't really understand why we existed. And he was a real advocate for all students. And I know certainly in health and physical education and athletics, really indebted to him for his leadership. And Mark still is in the community, married to Tana, and as is Emma. Emma's his youngest daughter. So they're actually a granddaughter, I guess, but you see her around all the time. So anyway, good people all.
And I thought that might be a tie-in since Jerry's grandson is one of the stars of the Central High School baseball team. So JT Gerard is one of the people that is leading us to the state, hopefully, title. All right, with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn, and we'll go to our brief urban renewal meeting.
So moved.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 All right, great. And with that, we will adjourn council, and we will quickly turn to the Monmouth Urban Renewal Agency. I will call that to order and ask for the roll call, please.
Ms. Belts?
Here.
Mr. Carey?
Here.
Mr. Lopez?
Present.
Ms. McKeel?
Here.
Mr. Obers?
Yes.
Mr. Ridgway?
Here.
Ms. Coons?
am present, and we do have a public comment time reserved for this. In addition to the hearing on the budget, do we have any public comment for the urban renewal agent? All right, with that, our consent calendar, our meeting of May 19th, we did conduct business. Those minutes were included, and I will entertain additions, corrections, or a motion to adjourn.
Move approval of consent calendar.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Beltz, for the motion and Mr. Oberst for the second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 And none opposed. That moves us to the business agenda. And I will open a public hearing to consider adoption of Resolution 47 on the Monmouth Urban Renewal Agency budget and receive our staff report from Sean Wade of all people.
Thank you and good evening, members of the board. The next item before you is a public hearing and consideration of resolution number 47, adopting the Monmouth Urban Renewal Agency budget for fiscal year 26-27. As part of Oregon budget law, the agency is required to adopt an annual budget that establishes spending authority for the upcoming fiscal year. Earlier this budget season, the Budget Committee reviewed the proposed budget, held a public hearing on May 5th, and subsequently recommended the budget for adoption by the Urban Renewal Agency Board. Tonight's hearing provides the public an additional opportunity for comment on the approved budget before the final adoption. The total fiscal year 26-27 Urban Renewal Agency budget is $7,629,739. Included in this budget is an assumption that the agency may obtain approximately $5 million in financing to support future infrastructure improvements within the urban renewal district. Similar to the current fiscal year, the budget includes this borrowing authority so the agency is prepared to move forward if conditions are favorable. However, approval of this budget does not commit the agency to taking out a loan. Whether financing is ultimately pursued will depend on market conditions, interest rates, project readiness, and direction from the board. If financing terms are not favorable, the agency may choose not to proceed with a borrowing, as occurred in this current fiscal year. Should the agency move forward with financing, the borrowed funds would be used to complete infrastructure projects and support future development and investments within the urban renewal district. Including the potential loan proceeds in the budget ensures agency flexibility and the ability to act when opportunities arise while maintaining prudent financial oversight. Urban renewal remains one of the city's most important economic development tools. It allows the agency to reinvest tax increment revenues generated with the district back into projects and support community growth, improve infrastructure, and encourage private investments for long-term community development goals. And with that, I'll turn it back over to the board.
All right, any questions of staff? And do we have any public comment for the Urban Renewal Agency?
No public comment.
All right, thank you. At that, I will close the hearing and consider entertaining a motion.
I would move approval of resolution number 47, adopting the 2026-2027 budget, making appropriations, declaring tax increment, and levying the maximum amount of taxes available.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Oberst, for the motion and Mr. Lopez for the second. Did that prompt any questions?
Just putting it out there.
Seeing none, I'll ask for the roll call, please.
Ms. Kuntz,
Aye.
Mr. Ridgway,
Aye.
Ms. McKeel,
Yes.
Mr. Carey,
Aye.
Mr. Oberst,
Yes.
Mr. Lopez,
Aye.
Ms. Beltz.
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0.
7-0. All right, 7. All right, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Adjourned. All together.
Let's see, I think, do I ask for a fourth on that? All in favor, please signify by saying
Aye.
and we are adjourned. Thank you.